Hey guys, my name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about 3 tests that I put all my players, all my characters I create, all the NPCs I create, all the towns I create through before they're shown to anybody other than me. We do these tests to make sure that our characters have a certain level of depth to them, a certain level of seriousness to them, a certain level of quality to them that I feel is important before we show them to the world. The first test that I run any of my players, any of my characters through, is named after a player who often finds innuendo in the very smallest of places, anywhere in nerddom. He doesn't want to be named, so we're just going to simply call this the Joe test. This was first discovered, and this one is my fault, not Joe's fault. Running through various levels of hell, we come upon in Pathfinder the Archdevil Dispater. Of course, in my head, I hear Dispater, and finding the innuendo in this, I fall out laughing when the GM is trying to create a serious, hellish environment. After that day, it was important to me that all the NPCs I make, I stop before the players see them, and out loud, slowly, 3 times, I say the name of whatever it is I'm going to introduce to make sure there is 0 innuendo in anything I make. Maybe in some groups this isn't as important, but if you're the GM and you want some big bad monster or infamous association like Paizo's, Aspis, spelled A-S-P-I-S, and often easy to mispronounce, if you want these things to have a certain level of seriousness, it's important. Test number 2 is the nail test. That is to say, am I hitting the nail too much on the head when I make this person's name? If my players zone in on somebody who up until now had 0 purpose and all of a sudden is really important, then okay, fine. If the Viking's name is Ragnar out of the top of my head, then that's fine. But personally, I feel that if I'm making an NPC who's supposed to be a Viking or Egyptian themed or something like that, it's important to pull back a little bit from generic names like the Viking's name is Ragnar. Use any Danish name, even just Eric, E-R-I-C. Anything like that is not necessarily better than the Viking's name is Ragnar or the Pharaoh's name is Nirlathotep. It's not always the most important thing in the world, but I find pulling off from stereotypical names can make your characters feel a little more real. Test number 3 is the people test. That is to say, in fantasy settings, we often have catfolk. We don't name them Leo. We don't name them even something like Spot or Patches if we can't come up with something. Or if we have anthropomorphic bears, we give them names instead of some kind of like Barry the bear. They might not be humans, but they're people too. They're gonna feel a lot more real and a lot less like subhuman races or like monsters that have just barely learned to walk upright if we give them better names, which is important because that's part of a fantasy setting. We go into these worlds expecting to see anthropomorphic dogs or anthropomorphic birds that have developed technologically just as much or even more than the human race has. Look at elves, dwarves, things that are near human, not quite human, physiologically different, but just as advanced. It's just as important for our society of maybe not necessarily werewolves or feral monsters, but if you have anthropomorphic dogs, Paizo has kitsune, anthropomorphic foxes, Tengu, anthropomorphic crows. It's important these guys have their own culture too, and names are a little better than just names thrown on them based on their appearance. So that's all I have to say about that. If you've got anything to add, throw it in the comments. Like and subscribe for more videos. We'll see you next time.